And here we are, as promised, with the next chapter of Anyone Got a Match by Max Schulman. We shall smash cut straight into chapter 17. Virgil smiled delightedly as he watched Polly step out of the elevator doors and into the lobby. You, my dear, he said, should always wear blue. How interesting. Yesterday you told me I should always wear red. Actually, he said, affecting a leer, what you should always wear is the least possible. Polly sniffed. Big talk. Big hurry, said Virgil. Let's make tracks, you pretty blue thing. I've got a dean's meeting at 2. He took Polly's arm, but she seemed disinclined to move. What happens if you miss the dean's meeting? Chaos. You know the place wouldn't last 20 minutes without me. Seriously, Virgil, what if you didn't show up? He stepped back and gave her a close scrutiny. Your dress is lovely. Your face is lovely. Your eyes are strange. Polly, is anything wrong? Of course not. Come, you mustn't miss your meeting. Now it was Virgil who stood immobile. To hell with the meeting. We're going someplace quiet, and you will tell Uncle Virgil what's clouding these beautiful eyes. You are not my uncle, she said irritably. I am your friend. He made it a plain statement of fact. Whatever is wrong, I want to help. She touched his hand. Sorry, I growled. There's a new restaurant called Le Coq d'Or. It's so damn chic nobody goes there. We'll have plenty of privacy. He offered her his arm. She held it tightly as they walked out of the lobby. She had bolted another glass of vodka just before leaving the suite, and though her mind was alert and her diction was crisp, her feet seemed to belong to somebody else. However, with Virgil's assistance, she made it to his car without even a hint of a stagger. They got into the car. All of a sudden, before he could pull away from the curb, she started to speak, insistently, rapidly, determinedly, as if to get everything said before a failure of nerve or a return of good sense should silence her. Virgil, when Ira and I were stationed here during the war, there was a place out on Route 12 called Big Eddie's. It's still there, I know, because I passed it on my way in from the airport. It's a tacky roadhouse kind of joint, you know. Yes, he said, regarding her narrowly, I know Big Eddie's. Well, I don't. I mean, I've never actually been there. It was off limits for troops during the war, private dining rooms and stuff like that, you know. And that's where you want to go for lunch. Does it still have private dining rooms? Yes. Let's go. All right. I should point out, though, that the food is inedible, the kitchen is filthy, and the proprietor is a degenerate. Still want to go? She nodded. Care to tell me why? After we get there. How much have you had to drink this morning? He asked, gently, inoffensively. Quite a lot, she replied. Can we go? We can, he said, and swung his car into traffic. A moment later, a small homemade sports car with young Gabriel at the wheel pulled out of an alley, skillfully driving a half-block behind Virgil, allowing other cars to intervene lest his quarry become suspicious. Gabriel continued his surveillance. It took Virgil 15 minutes to reach Big Eddie's. Polly did not speak. She switched on the car radio and was listened, unhearing, to a concert of hillbilly music. Virgil gave her a sidelong glance from time to time, but he too was silent. He parked in front of a one-story building, covered on all sides with asphalt roofing shingles, half of them hanging awry. There was one window in front of the building and none anywhere else. A riot of neon signs flickered behind the fly specks in the window. One sign in yellow proclaimed Miller's High Life. Budweiser was in red, Schlitz in brown, Pabst in blue, and Ballantine in green. Centered on the brewer's emblems was a sign in colorless neon script. The tubing had long since burned out. Big Eddie's, it said. Virgil got out, helped Polly from the car, escorted her cautiously around the potholes that dotted the parking area, and ushered her into the roadhouse. Inside the door, barely discernible in the dimness, was a bar room. 6 booths, covered in gamey oilcloth, stood against one wall. Another wall accommodated a long bar on which were carved a profusion of graffiti, names and nicknames, initials twined in hearts, Appalachian ribaldries, and genitalia of a size no man has yet seen. The other 2 walls were blank except for pine doors, each bearing a crudely painted number. The doors were marked 1 to 10. These were the entrances to the private dining rooms. No customers were in the bar room, only Big Eddie. Gross and unshaven, he stood behind the bar. In his mouth was a twisted stogie. In his hand was the newspaper of the White Citizens Council. He looked up, knew instantly who Virgil Tatum was, but his colorless eyes betrayed not the slightest sign of recognition. If old Virgil felt like tearing off a piece, why, that wasn't nobody's business but old Virgil's, was it? Howdy, said Big Eddie, neither politely nor impolitely. Howdy, answered Virgil. Can we get some lunch? Surely, said Big Eddie. Room number 6 is nice and clean. Thank you, said Virgil. Let me know when you're ready to eat. We got rabbit with turnip greens, or there's canned salmon. We'll let you know, said Virgil. Can you make a vodka martini? Said Polly to Big Eddie. Well, yes, ma'am, he replied, but not too good. I see, she said. Well, all right then, will you just give us a bottle of vodka and some ice? No, ma'am, I don't believe I can. No vodka? Oh, plenty of vodka. Thing is, though, the ice is spoiled. The ice is spoiled? Setting too long, maybe. Don't get much call for it around here. Just a bottle of vodka, okay, said Virgil. Yes, sir, said Big Eddie. He handed Virgil a bottle of vodka, 2 glasses, and a key attached to a tag marked number 6. Room number 6 was, as Big Eddie had represented, clean, and there its attractions ended. It was a cell about 6 feet wide and 8 feet long. The furnishings consisted of 1 breakfast-sized table of chrome and red plastic, 2 chairs of the same, and a studio couch draped with a corduroy throw. Virgil pulled out a chair for Polly and sat in the other one. Using his breast pocket handkerchief, he wiped the drinking glasses, opened the vodka, and poured 2 generous shots. He raised his glass to Polly. Well, my dear, what would you like, the rabbit or the canned salmon? Please, she said, shuddering. She tossed off her drink and handed the glass back to Virgil. He made no move to fill it. Maybe you better talk while you still can. What's all this about? How old are you, Virgil? Can't you add it up? Oh, yes, I can add it up. That is, I could add it up, only there's one part of it that just plain won't figure. I mean you. You are Polly Shapian. What is Polly Shapian doing in a place like this? Damn it, she said hotly. Where else could I take you? Everybody in the hotel knows me. Everybody in the county knows you. Where, except in a joint like this, could we do what we're going to do? I see. All right, next question. Why are we going to do what we're going to do? Can I have my drink? He poured 2 fingers of vodka and handed it to her. Virgil, you've been making a lot of sexy banter with me. Is that all it is? Banter? Is the circumstances? What else could it be? Don't you think of me as a woman? She asked, panic in her eyes. Don't you find me desirable? Virgil stood. Finish your drink, Polly, and let's get out of here. I don't know what's tormenting you, but whatever it is, you're not going to fix it on that couch over there. Wait, she cried. She jumped to her feet. Her fingers raced down the buttons of her jacket. She yanked off the jacket, dropped it on the floor, reached for the hooks in the back of her bra. Stop it, said Virgil, his voice hard, his brow black with anger. Stop it. I get the idea. Polly removed her hand from the fastness of her bra. Bleakly, she looked up at Virgil. And you're not interested, are you? I'm not interested in being this crazy drunken game you're playing. That's not what I mean. You're not interested in me. You don't find me attractive or desirable. You don't even look on me as a woman. That's a simple fact, isn't it? Polly, put down that booze and listen to me carefully and remember what you hear, because I am going to tell you some things that are mighty nice and altogether true. For the past 20, he paused, and suddenly it seemed to him he had just heard a soft thudding sound on the outside wall of the room. What was that? He asked. What was what? I thought I heard something on the outside of the wall over there. Didn't you hear it? No. Sure? Positive, she said. I'm afraid you're a little jumpy, Virgil. Sorry, my fault. Funny, said Virgil. I could have sworn I heard a sound on that wall. Not very loud, but I could swear I heard it. Well, I guess I was wrong. But Virgil was not wrong. The sound he had heard was an arrow, softly embedding itself in the asphalt shingles outside their room, and the hands that had drawn the bow that had shot the arrow was young Gabriel's. Gabriel, successfully avoiding detection, had followed Virgil's car all the way to Big Eddie's. When Virgil had taken Polly inside, Gabriel had parked his sports car in a thicket near the roadhouse. Using field glasses, he had spied through the window of Big Eddie's and seen Virgil and Polly go into room number 6. Then he had removed from his car a bow, an arrow, and a carrying case roughly the size of a small valise. Keeping to the woods, he had circled Big Eddie calculated he was directly opposite room number 6. Then he had opened his carrying case. Inside was an excellent battery-powered tape recorder. A long, fine wire was attached to the recorder. Gabriel had taken one end of the wire and fastened it securely to the head of his arrow. It was a hollowed-out arrowhead containing an ultra-sensitive miniature microphone handcrafted by Gabriel himself. He had slipped the arrow into the bow and from a distance of 50 yards had taken careful aim. The arrow had flown true. It stuck now in the wall of room number 6, the microphone picking up everything that was said inside. The long, fine wire ran from the arrowhead to the tape recorder. Gabriel squatted, pushed the record button, started the reels spinning, dipped on a pair of earphones, and he listened. This is what he heard. Virgil. Where was I? Polly. You were about to tell me something nice. Virgil. Oh, yes. Polly, you ask whether I think of you as a woman, whether I find you desirable. Yes, yes, to both questions. I have thought of you as a woman, and I have found you desirable since I first laid eyes on you 20 years ago. I am now a middle-aged gentleman and the president of a university, and you will agree it is hardly fitting for a man of my age and attainments to indulge in sex fantasies. However, I still recall, as though it were yesterday, an afternoon during the war when we all went out to the beach. In fact, I recall it so vividly that I'm going to shut up right now. Polly, come on, Virgil, that's not fair. You started something, now finish it. Virgil, I better not. Polly, if you've got any kind words for me, please, I beg you, don't hold back. Never in my life have I needed so desperately to hear some kind words. Virgil, well, these are pretty sexy words. Polly, what kind of kind words could be kinder? Virgil, well, if you insist. Polly, I do. All right, it was wartime, and we were all at the beach one afternoon. Go on and don't skip anything. Virgil, there were a lot of us out there that day. Ira, Boo, several of the Owenses, but it's only you I remember. You were wearing a white two-piece bathing suit with tiny blue fleur-de-lis printed on it. I remember every detail. I can still see your breasts when you came out of the water, the thrust of them, the round perfection of them. Your halter had slipped a bit while you were swimming, and I saw your nipples, how the cold water had made them rise like two happy, eager things, ready for fun and play. Polly, 20 years have passed, Virgil. Virgil, the years have been kind. I look now at your breasts and I see the same vitality. I see more. I see tenderness, womanliness, passion come to full maturity. Polly, you startle me. I'm not sure I know what to say. Virgil, say nothing. Listen. I want to tell you about your legs now. They're beautiful, Polly, not just because they're so faultlessly proportioned, but because they dare, they venture. I have thought of those brave legs around me, arching and striving. I have wished to be embraced by such courage. I continue? Polly, for God's sake, yes. Virgil, your buttocks. Polly, you like them? Virgil, you have, without question, the most defiant behind in North America. Did you ever get a look at your backside while you were engaged in an argument? Polly, a little difficult, isn't it? I mean, have you ever seen yours? Virgil, good point, but I have seen yours many times. Do you know that your butt absolutely bristles? It leaps with conviction. It launches you. Polly, like a rocket, you mean? Virgil, like a comet. Dear Polly, you in bed are the combinations poets dream about. Those eager breasts, those feisty legs, that brazen ass. Oh, excuse me. Polly, not at all. Not at all. Virgil, and I haven't even mentioned your face, the gorgeous honesty of it, and those creamy shoulders and supple arms, and the deft hands, the strong, nimble fingers that know where to touch a man. This much Gabriel, breathing hard, heard. Then he heard this. Gabriel, came a voice like thunder. What the hell do you think you're doing here? The boy leaped up in terror, tangling his feet in the wire, kicking it loose from the tape recorder, making the spools stop turning. Looming over him was the fearful scowl of Jefferson Tatum. And behind Jefferson stood two broad-beamed women in their mid-40s, each with the same slack, placid, inbred face, Esther and Millie McCabe, the pushovers from packaging. Oh, hi, Uncle Jefferson, stammered Gabriel. I was just leaving. Wait a minute, isn't that one of them tape recorders? Leaving, that's what I was doing. Leaving. Gabriel ducked under the old man's arm, snatched up his tape recorder, and started away. Why are you hanging around a place like this? Don't you know what kind of place this is? Wait till I tell your mother, yelled Jefferson, but Gabriel was already gunning his sports car out of the woods. Crazy mixed up kid, muttered Jefferson darkly. Then, remembering the McCabe twins, he gallantly offered an arm to each. Shall we go in, ladies? He said with a debonair toss of his head. Sure, mister, they said, and started walking with him toward Big Eddie's. And meanwhile, in room number 6, Polly was asking hopefully, Is there more, Virgil? Have you finished, or is there more? Huh? Huh? I guess that just about covers it, he replied. Not quite. There's one last thing I have to know. And please, please, Virgil, she entreated, be honest. These pretty words you've been saying, are they true? Really and truly true? On my oath as a Southern gentleman, he said solemnly. Then why have you never let me know? I don't mean you had to make a pass at me. Why didn't you somehow let me know? I've just answered that, he said with a wry smile. This Southern gentleman syndrome. I'm afraid I've got it bad. Another man's wife is strictly out of bounds. I'll accept that, she said, but I don't think it's the whole answer. You mean Boo? Yes. A most curious thing is happening there, said Virgil. Here, said Virgil. You're the one who's supposed to be drunk, but it's me who's spilling my innermost secrets. Well, okay, I might as well finish the job. Yes, I love Boo. I have loved her more than 20 long, unrequited years. In fact, I love her right this minute, and frankly, looking ahead, I see no relief in sight. All the same, please try to understand this. I am not a masochist, and I'm thoroughly tired of playing on the losing side. Polly, I tell you plainly that if you were not married, and if you would have me, I'd leap at the chance. And don't get any wrong ideas. I wouldn't be taking you as a consolation prize. You, my beauty, are clearly, definitely, and spectacularly a first prize. You are bingo. You are the laurel wreath, the winner's circle, and the medal of honor. And any man lucky enough to have you should drop to his knees and give thanks several hundred times a day. Virgil, that funny look you see on my face is the happiest smile I have smiled since I don't know when. Would you mind if I kissed you? I'd be proud, only first you must put the top of your dress back on. I may be a Southern gentleman, but let's not push it too far. He held up the jacket she had thrown on the floor. She slipped into it, fastened the buttons, and gave Virgil an honest kiss on the mouth. Now then, said Virgil, shall we order the rabbit or finish the vodka? Neither, she said. You've got a dean's meeting, and as for me, I don't want food and I don't need liquor. Take me back to the hotel. I am going to stand naked in front of a mirror all afternoon. Laughing arm in arm, they walked out of room number 6, just as Jefferson was entering the bar with the McCabe twins. Jefferson stared at his son, stared at Polly, stared back at his son. The old man's eyes popped with admiration, bordering on awe. Why, you dog, he said proudly to Virgil. You beat her puss and hound. Howdy, stranger, replied Virgil, deadpan, to Jefferson. He tossed a $10 bill on the bar and, looking neither right nor left, escorted Polly outdoors. Thank you for reading with me.